Hey RATBAGGERS, it's Jade. Today I'm going to be showing you everything you need to know about the slime bosses, their unique drops, how to defeat them, and which ones are worth your time farming for exclusive loot and maybe some slime pets. If you do find my core keeper guides and content useful, please leave a like, go and check out the rest of it, and make sure you're subscribed. Let's go. So as you can see, the first one you're more than likely to come across is Glurch, the abominable mass. He's always at the same amount of squares away from the core, but in maybe a different direction. And do remember, like all or most of the bosses in the game, they should be a waypoint close to it. So if you find that first, then Glurch will be nearby too. 4 out of the 5 slime bosses you can fight will be there the first time you come across them, with one exclusive one, the crossover with Terraria, that you do need to summon straight away. So to defeat Glurch, it's pretty simple. Use absolutely a shield to block incoming attacks if you're not really a ranged or mage character. Try and get hold of the Swift Feather, and make sure you've got plenty of meals that are going to give you speed boost, i.e. bomb peppers. Glurch isn't that difficult, you should be able to kill him with copper gear. Ranged or mage or warlock will also be pretty good too. If you do unlock the copper workbench, you can go ahead and craft the rain overalls, as these will help reduce the speed penalty that you have when walking over slime, and I recommend wearing them as well. And pretty much like all slime bosses, you do want to try and avoid getting stumped on. Obviously that is going to be the main danger. They will spawn a little more slime mobs, and that's something else you have to be careful of, especially the later ones. But here it's generally only the spiky boys that you need to worry about. If you manage to come across Glurch and not disturb him, you could try removing some of the slime with a upgraded hoe, i.e. one that does more than maybe 4 squares, and that's always a tip or rule for every slime boss. Try and get rid of all the surrounding slime as best as you can before engaging. Do be aware, if you are a warlock class, your actual minions will sometimes randomly attack it even if you have not, so don't summon your minions until you're ready to fight them. And yep, like most bosses, at some point it will go turbo, do more speedy attacks, and it's just a case of avoiding, using a dash ability with the Swift Feather to move out of the way, or if you have to, like I said, tank the hit, reduce that damage by 70% when using a shield. So Glurch is pretty important. Without him you won't be able to find these scanners or craft them to find the next bosses, and one of them bosses you need to find the scanners to find all of the other slime bosses in the world. Once you have defeated him the first time and any of the other slimes, you can clear up all the remaining floor slime and also then go ahead and put a bunch of spike traps down. This is going to be one of the quickest and easiest ways to help. It won't necessarily always kill the slimes outright, as they are going to get a lot stronger, but it definitely will give them a bit of a hit. So the Glurch eye is what you need to go ahead and put in the Glurch statue, and that will unlock the ways that you can scan for Malagus, as well as Gorm. Now Gorm is important because he's going to actually give you the ability to get the next trader that you'll be able to craft the slime idol. They cost 500 coins, so it can be expensive. You might want to try my cheesy method of just starting up a fresh world and defeating Gorm a bunch of times if you want to farm him, as he's relatively easy to find compared to any of the other bosses, and then can just come back with that same character to your original world rather than pay up them coins. Okay, that's the basics of taking on any slime boss. Obviously there will be differences, we'll cover them as we get to them. So these are the drops that you can get from Glurch. Now I've gone into a lot of stats in my last few videos, but I want to keep this light and breezy. But effectively, you've got a chance of picking all this up. Some of it will have more greater chance. So you always guarantee pretty much to get slime, maybe some ancient gemstones and some mechanical parts, as well as some copper and tin. And then after that, it becomes a bit more random, with some of these items being exclusive. What you're looking here for is really the armor pieces and the special accessories that you get from Glurch. The armor isn't exclusive to Glurch. You got a chance of picking up the ranger gear or the apprentice stuff while exploring in the dirt and stone biomes. But the sticky stick here, as well as the other accessories, they are exclusive to Glurch. It's not the best mage weapon. It does bounce around with its projectile, causing multiple hits, but it doesn't do a huge amount of damage. Even at this stage of the game, I still think there's better options. You've then got the necklace and the ring. The ring give you 5% dodge chance and the necklace 15 extra health. And as mentioned, you will get the ranger gear, possibly some drops from this or the apprentice stuff. The one exception that might be good is the crescent ring, which gives 14 max mana. Early game, that's really good for mage classes. The rusty dagger you've also got a chance of getting elsewhere too. So all in all, it's maybe not worth farming Glurch too often, unless you really are looking to just get a lot of coins by going into other worlds, killing them quick and easy, and then selling everything. Or you really have had no luck in finding the apprentice gear while you explore around the first biomes. The apprentice gear is based around mages, so using your magic to fire projectiles rather than summoning creatures. So yeah, if you get the crescent ring, I would say that's a good one. The slime creature that you get from this guy is probably the worst one as well. It does reduce enemy movement quite a bit, but it only does about 8.5% damage against bosses, where a lot of the other slimes and creatures, pets that you can find, will do a lot more. So don't waste your coins. If you really want to grind for glurch, do what I said. Go to other worlds with your same character, find him in there, kill him, and then come back with the loot until you get what you want, and then move on. So next up, before we take on any more slime bosses, we do also have to talk about Malagas. Alongside Gorm and Glurch, these are the 3 bosses you have to defeat if you want to gain access to the outer world, pretty much the wall barrier that you might not have been able to dig past. Once they're defeated, you can start exploring the Igneous wilderness, the sunken sea, as well as the desert at the beginnings. But more importantly, defeating Malagas gives you access to the hologram pod. Put Malagas's idol inside the statue and then you'll be able to go ahead and craft it alongside these other items, but it is the hologram pod we're really focusing on. It's basically an NPC. Once placed, you'll be able to find location scanners for all the rest of the bosses you need, as well as some of the summoning items for Asios, Raka and the Atlantean worm. Glurch was really easy to find, and the rest of them, though, the slime bosses, are pretty tough unless you do go ahead, come across it luckily, or make sure you craft the scanners. So before we start talking about the next 3 slime bosses, there is an optional crossover one. This is in conjunction with Terraria, adding the King Slime to Core Keeper. Every time you kill a slime, you've got a chance of dropping the Crown Idol, and this is what you can place on the runestone, and that's how you summon any of the slime bosses if you want to repeat them. You just need to go to the right area and put the same one that you can buy from the second trader. But this one, yeah, is a bit different. The Crown Idol will give you the chance to take him on, and he gives a guaranteed percentage of drops, i.e. the same items every single time, unlike the other ones which will all be a bit more random. Now this is quite a jump up in terms of difficulty. I maybe don't show it here because I'm pretty OP, but he does a substantial amount more damage than Glurch, but less than the next set of slime bosses. He also has a ton more health. Glurch has around 2,500 health, this guy has 24,000. On top of that, the royal slime minions that it summons do about 10 times more damage than a regular slime will. So a tougher boss fight for sure, and like I said, you can really go to town trying to farm these guys, as there are some pretty cool uses out of some of this stuff. Guaranteed to get 5 health potions, the Terraria crossover music sheet. Royal Gel is an item that you put in your offhand slot and it will reduce enemy movement by 15%, and if you wear it with the slime crown, you'll basically be immune to any slimes. They won't attack you at all, and that goes for any slimes you come across. Unless you attack them, then that's a different story. This is also the only way you're guaranteed to get a slime pet each and every time you kill a slime boss. The King Slime Crown is going to give you 23 max health, 11 armor, 3 glow, 2% critical hit chance. So I would say the first time that you find one of these idols from killing slimes, that's why you never stop killing them as you go past, definitely go and try and summon it. That way you might get a chance of getting some pretty OP gear early. Yes, it will be a tough boss fight, but if you lay out all of the spike traps around it, that'll help. And you more than likely have picked up some better armor by then. If you leave it until you've built up a bunch of them and you've maybe taken on some of the other slimes, well, your gear is going to be not as useful. And particularly the slime pet is probably the most useful thing, as it gives 30% damage with its hits against bosses. Doesn't have any other bonuses, but it will of course have its talent points that it can go ahead and buy as it upgrades each level up to level 10. Well, every 2 levels you get a talent point. And I think this is one of the best early game pets you can pretty much have if you're determined to take on bosses over and over again to get more gear. Even when you do outgrow some of the items, it's still worth doing it every now and then, as it will give you some experience points and you get some chests and you can sell all the rest of the loot. And apart from its massive health, it doesn't actually leave any slime in and around the arena, so it does make the fight a bit easier. So next up is Ivy, who you can find in the Asios biome. So same tips as always, try and clear out the surrounding area of any of the smaller slimes you'll usually come across. Try and use a hoe to get rid of any of the slime on the floor, but don't get too close to Ivy, as that will trigger the fight. She does poison damage. Now it doesn't actually take away your health, although it will do some damage when you get hit. Instead, it stops you from healing. Any potions you use and anything else will pretty much have a much diminished return, the same as walking over the floor slime. So yeah, 75% reduction in anything you're using to heal. At various points she will launch a barrage of hits on you as well. These not only do damage, but they can also summon more of the purple poisonous slime minions. She's got nearly 40,000 health and does quite a bit of damage, 242 at the max level. It will enrage at around 30% of the health bar rather than 50%, so that makes it a bit tougher. You can try cheesing using the Royal Slime set that you got. That does make you pretty much ignored by most slimes, and as long as you're hitting her with a ranged weapon, with her pretty much as close to being off screen as you can with seeing her health, that's another method that might be okay, but I'm sure it might end up getting patched in the future. Here's where you're going to get a more powerful version of your Warlock gear, as well as a pretty powerful poison build if you get the right items, basically Ivy's pants and chest piece, and hopefully picking up the poisonous sickle. So, Corrupt Warden Mask, 38 max health, 2.5 mana every second, 1 max minion count, 17 minion lifespan. The Warden Tunic, 45 max health, 32 max mana, 1 max minion and 10% minion damage. And the Shorts, 42 max health, 29 max mana, 1 max minion count, 9.6 minion damage. All three give your minions a 15% extra critical hit chance. So you'll be able to summon 3 more minions by wearing this full kit. It won't leave much room though with your mana, so you may have to always kind of switch out to something else while your mana rebuilds. Ivy's Thorn Harness gives 53 max health, 31% critical hit damage, and the pants give 49 max health, 31 critical hit damage. That's 62% critical hit damage increase. If you combine that with the drops, Ivy's Ring does 5.4 range attack speed, and actually wearing this with any one of the other 2 items will give you a 2 set bonus, 25% critical hit chance for a short duration after successfully applying poison. So technically not a poison dealing armor set, but more taking advantage of poison to give yourself huge critical hits. Pretty good with the blowpipe gun as a poisonous weapon. Poisonous Sickle does 199 to 243 physical damage, 2.5 attacks per second, 18% critical hit damage, and 28% chance to apply poison on hit. The Sickle, you have got a good chance of it dropping from Ivy, actually the best chance compared to finding it in mold chests and again some places in the Aesios Wilderness in ancient chests. But also specifically look out for a mold cicada, which is a special scene item where it's guaranteed. So for ranged, wear the ring with any one of Ivy's armor pieces, or for melee, wear both the armor pieces and use the Sickle. In general, the stopping enemies from rehealing, that is really good for certain boss fights, like Igneous, one of the molten slimes, or Aesios, which also has a healing mechanic proper in it. Now all enemies, or bosses I should say, do heal if they kind of go out of render or too far away from their rune. But yeah, Igneous and Aesios both have specific mechanics that help them heal during the combat. So applying this poison will make things a lot easier. The Remadaisy necklace is really good as it's immune to poison, so you'll be able to run around the Aesios biome not worrying about your health suddenly not re-healing as much. And Toxic Defender is a offhand shield, 24% chance to apply poison when blocking melee hits, reducing enemy healing received by 75%, and of course it will reduce any incoming damage by 70% as well. Now you might think anything with Ivy's name in it, that's going to be the exclusive drop, but you're wrong. Ivy's ring can actually be found in a lot of places, but obviously you get more percentage chance taking on Ivy. Any kind of purple vessel and killing purple slimes has a chance of giving it, as well as finding it in mold chests and mold biome. Same goes for the Toxic Defender, that can be also found in mold biomes and mold chests, as well as certain locations or scenes in Aesios Wilderness. In actual fact, it's only Ivy's pants and Ivy's Thorn Harness that are exclusive to Ivy. Everything else can be found in other places, including the corrupt gear. Purple Slime Pet will do chance to apply the same poison damage, stopping enemies from healing. So again, another great one. If you don't want to sacrifice any of your other gear to help reduce enemies from healing, especially bosses, then make sure you equip the Purple Slime. And it does do 15% damage against bosses, so not as high as Prince Slime Jr., but definitely better than the Orange Slime. And you've got a chance of getting gold, as well as Scarlet Ore, and then the usual stuff, including Beast Booster, which obviously gives 5000 XP to your pet. And so moving on to Morpha. A massive jump in health once again, 84,000 health, 300 plus max damage now. So any puddles that are there will cause the slippery movement, and the bubbles that she fires do quite a moderate amount of damage too. As long as you've got at this point something like the Rift Lens or maybe the Aesios Feather, anything that's going to give you a dash, it should be relatively easier to combat though. There are some points where the bubbles seem to be all around, but as long as you are sticking to the opposite side of where she's just fired her bubbles, then you're usually a bit more safer. And you can see there's almost a little window. They do persevere though a little bit after she's fired them. So yeah, you definitely want to be ranged. Maybe keep some pillars up, fill in any of the water gaps that are there with some bridges, and maybe expand the arena a little bit so that you've got more room to run around the outside, hitting them with ranged. So your next best bet for getting the next upgrade in your mage gear, the sorcerer set. 46 max health, 36 magic barrier, 44 max mana and 15.5 magic damage with the hood. The robe, 40 max health, 36 magic barrier, 44 max mana, 13.9 magic damage. And the pants, 39 max health, 35 magic barrier, 43 max mana, 15.6 magic damage. Wearing all three pieces will give a boost of 26% magic damage based on your remaining mana. Best use of this is making sure your first shot counts, and maybe using more powerful mage staves as they might do more damage overall. So you'll get more bonus magic damage out of it. Of course, the sorcerer's gear can be found in lots of places. Pretty much any of the kind of cityscapes you find in the Sunken Sea. You've got a chance of it dropping from Cavelin Scholars, as well as the Core Sentries and Blue Slimes, and finding it as well in Octarine chests. Not to mention a bunch of other scenes and places in the Sunken Sea and the ancient cities. But yeah, the best chance is by taking on, obviously, the morpha. And practically an exclusive, the slime set, you do have like a tiny % chance of picking up the helm from Blue Slimes, but it's less than 1%. And the slime armour, you can find that in certain scenes, in certain seashell chests as well. So keep exploring all around the Sunken Sea, but not the ancient cities. What it will do, give you 29 max health, 16 armour, 8% damage increase. The slime armour is a little bit better compared to the robe at 37 max health plus 22 armour and another increase 11.9 damage. But the best thing is wearing both of these or a combination with Morpha's ring will make you immune to slippery movement, which is pretty good for exploring the Sunken Sea. If you do wear Morpha's ring, that's going to give you 36% critical hit damage. And if anyone hits you, their melee is going to pretty much make them slippery, so they'll start moving all over the place. Morpha's ring is exclusive to Morpha. The coral ring gives 45 max health and increase in boat speed. You'll find these in Octarine chests, but also in the ancient city parts, maybe even some mould covered chests, and Coral Island. Morpha's bubble bag, exclusive to Morpha, 20 inventory slots, 4.7 movement speed, 12 mining damage. And another exclusive to Morpha, the Slippery Slime Sword, 207 to 253 physical damage, 2.5 attacks per second, 6% critical hit chance, 37% chance on hit to apply slippery movement. It's going to be really good, especially if you're getting swarmed by a lot of Cavelins while exploring any of the ancient cities. Of course, there is a blue junior slime, 15% damage against bosses, and a 13% chance on hit to apply slippery movement. But remember, it's always the pet's hits, not yours. You'll get some gold, the usual stuff, and again another beast booster. The sheer amount of health here does make this more challenging, but the lack of actual mobs that it doesn't summon makes it a lot easier too. So just make sure again you clear out any of them and be prepared to dash out the way in case you do get trapped or get caught on the puddles and you're slipping around in the wrong direction. The sorcerer set at this stage, yeah, absolutely great if you are going down the mage route. It's definitely worth farming him a little bit to see if you can get all three pieces. But I'm not sure it's necessarily worth trying to grind for Morpha's bag with the extra mining damage and speed. Not the best things, as there's plenty of other ways to boost them stats. But definitely a more general use out of the pet slime compared to Ivy's. I would say this is the toughest slime boss fight, unless you've got really lucky with certain drops or well equipped. Igneous is going to do a lot of fire damage, and so anything you can use or wear to negate that's going to be good. There are of course certain fish that will help against it. Basically put your fishing rod in any lava water and you're hoping to get the verdant dragonfish. Gives critical hit damage, but more importantly immune to burning for 10 minutes. Absolutely repair all the holes in this arena with bridges or dirt, and at this stage your spike traps probably aren't going to do that much. Although at this point also, since it is in the desert of beginnings, it is a good idea to go and get the galaxite, as with enough of it you can craft maybe some of the turrets and set them up to help out a bit too. Without that something giving you immunity to the fire, you really are going to have the best hoe to give it the most space, reducing all the lava around, or at least be really careful. And the fireballs that he actually fires, they're pretty tough to avoid as well, with so many come in, and they do a huge amount of damage. The biggest part of this fight though is destroying the lava rocks that will come towards him. At various stages he'll summon these, and these are what heals him. It's why, in my opinion, something like the Purple Slime Jr. could be good, as that will reduce the amount of healing it takes on. But otherwise, you've got to have something that can actually fire fast, destroy the actual boulders before they get to him. With the range damage from the fireballs as well, I definitely recommend keeping your distance. Unless you're really lucky, it is situated pretty much in the middle of a huge molten quarry maze dungeon, so you'll have to deal with a ton of the molten enemies before you get there. So definitely bring your prince gear so that you can pretty much avoid the slime damage at least, and then only have to deal with the fire butterflies. His max damage he can do to you is 422, and he's got a health of 160,000. So not easy at all to go ahead and farm. But as you'll see by the end of describing how and what he gives you, I reckon he's probably the best bet to actually invest a lot of your idols into. So the magma armor set, as well as a magma shield, the scorching aegis, is the exclusive drops that you get from taking on igneous. But you also got a good chance of picking up the next level in your warlock class. Actually one of the last ones you'll have, with the grim set being really pretty much it. There's a magic set above this, but it's more for mage users. So, the Magma Horn Armour, 36 max health, 25 armour, 25 burnt damage applied on hit. The chest piece, 52 max health, 36 armour, 33 burn damage applied on hit. And 47 max health, 33 armour, 32 burn damage applied on hit, wearing the shins. All in all, that gives 70 burn damage applied on hit, and it makes you completely immune to burning, wearing all three. Scorching Aegis is going to give you 23 max health, 25 armour, deals 48 damage to all nearby enemies when blocking with the shield. Pretty similar to the blue tome, but you will obviously have to block to get the benefits of it. And yes, it will give you immunity to pretty much 70% of damage, and you can actually use it in combination with any of the magma armour set to also help with the free set bonus, immune to burning. Burn Zuka you do have a chance to get in other places, pretty much lots of molten quarry areas, any smouldering chests. Does 180 to 220 physical damage, obviously ranged, 0.7 attacks per second, projectiles pierce through enemies, and 343 to 419 explosive damage. Also does 1781 mining damage. So obviously if you use this with the fire stave, an upgraded version at least, that will do a lot of burn damage. Then got the Grim Armor set. Like I said, this one's good for warlocks. 42 max health, 15 magic barrier, 6.8% magic damage, 2 max minion count, and 6% minion damage with just the hood. Chest piece is going to give you 54 max health, 24 magic barrier, 50 max mana, 1 max minion count, and 20% minion lifespan. And the Grim Legwear, 47 max health, 20 magic barrier, 4.8 mana every second, 1 max minion count, 11.4 minion damage. So that will give you a total of 5 minions if you're using obviously one of the minion books. And if you're wearing all three, the minion damage is going to be increased by 48% of your magic damage increase. It does take a while to get used to, and at the moment the warlock classes still feel a little bit underpowered. These can be found in lots of other places though. Charred crates, killing lava slimes, as well as the hydro cult areas too, and in smouldering chests. You've got Lava Slime Jr, it's going to give 2 glow and 15% damage against bosses. I'd probably say one of the worst pets. Like unless you're really looking for that extra glow, with just a bunch of critical hit bonuses and buffs. Of course the usual drops for this biome is going to be Galaxite Ore and the rest, and most unusual is the Cipher Parchment. You have to use this at an Ancient Forge, and this is how you can get the Soul Seeker, which is an infinite durability mining pickaxe. 138 to 168 physical damage melee, 2.5 attacks per second, 769 mining damage, making it the highest base tool you can use to go ahead and mine out of the pickaxes. 9.7 mining speed, and it does give free blue glow. You also got a 1.5% chance to gain an extra ore when you're using it on any of the walls that ore is normally found in. So pretty epic item, but really tough to get hold of. To craft it you're going to need an ancient pickaxe, which you've got a good chance of picking up from Asios. 400 gold bars, 800 scarlet bars, 800 octarine bars, and 800 galaxite bars. You also need 100 ancient gemstones and the cipher parchment. Obviously pays it off to have no durability. Now there's certain drills in the game, or blasters, might not be as good as it used to be. You can only get the parchment from killing, obviously, igneous. It's a 21% chance of dropping. So what is the best slime gear? Well, just like everything in Core Keeper, I know it's a bit of a cop-out, but it's all dependent on what you found and where you are at the game. I think it's fair to say it's not really worth going ahead and utilising resources, especially as you've got to either go ahead and buy the idols to face glurch, and the stuff it gives you, nothing really here that special. It'll quickly become obsolete by the time you move on to other items, with the sticky stick ones just not being that amazing either. There's better weapons in short spaces you'll be able to find later. Of course, if you're cheesing and just go to different worlds and find glurch that way really quickly, then yeah, it'll cost you nothing, but I wouldn't be wasting 500 of my coins just to go ahead and face this guy. The Prince Slime, absolutely worth doing the first time you get a couple of the idols. The King of the Slimes is really useful if you're doing a lot of building, or you're trying to get to, maybe through one of the dungeons where slimes are. So pretty much good for the molten areas and anywhere it's really slimes. Ivy, absolutely, if you're looking for a poison build, is the way to go. Some of it's going to be pretty crucial in stopping enemies from healing, mixed in with the critical hit chance. But you really do need a poisonous weapon to make it work. And for sure, the purple slime, I recommend absolutely for certain bosses. Morpha stuff really is dependent on being useful in the sunken sea, avoiding the slippery movement from the slimes. And the sorcerer robe sets and stuff, I kind of bypassed it and skipped it, and quickly found other sets that would give me even more magic power and bonuses. The boat speed is nice, and the extra critical hit damage is good with Morpha's ring, and the slippery slime sword can be really good as well, making enemies move all over the place. But it's such a low chance for your pet to do it at 13%. I still think actually the Prince Slime Jr. is the best slime out of the lot. And I guess, yeah, considering the higher level gear that you can get, making you immune to burning, which you do have a lot of them enemies, plus the chance to get the Grim sets, I would say it's worth investing and making sure you can take on igneous as many times as you can, especially at least until you get the cipher parchment, and then you can weigh out whether or not it's going to be worth actually picking it up. The Soul Seeker sounds great, that's a lot of resources, and you might quickly come across, like I said, blasters that can do similar jobs without having to worry about durability. The slime for this guy is just not worth it either. That extra glow just isn't doing anything that great.